I mean, there's just hypocrisy, Ann McElhinney. It's incredible.
Oh, and no more clear of hypocrisy than, as you were saying about this Hermosa Beach thing down here. The other person that was with Ed Begley Jr., as you mentioned, and have had obviously some nice meetings with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., extraordinary, who basically flies around the world in his private jet, trying to stop oil and gas production in the United States, trying to stop fracking in New York, trying to stop the production of oil down here in Hermosa Beach. A guy, by the way, from a family called Kennedy, who are basically own a company get all their money from a company called Arctic Royalty Limited Partnership, which was formed from two oil companies.
Right.
And the reason they formed that was to minimize their tax liability.
Right.
But basically, he is running around the world, paid for by royalties from his lovely oil interests, trying to stop oil production. I mean, you can't get hypocrisy more blatant than that.
It's as obvious as it gets.
It's an extraordinary guy. And exactly what you say, he's really into wind power until it's in Nantucket.
Right.
He's really into wind power, but not in my backyard.
Yeah, don't put it in Hyannisport.
Yeah, not if you can see it from Hyannisport, where we're having our cocktails, of a summer evening.
Yep.
We're not having that. It can be anywhere else where the poor live, where the proletariat live. It'll be fine.
Listen, I've had a lot of debates over the years, and you can still find it on YouTube somewhere. When I squared off with Robert F. Kennedy, I've had many debates over the years there. I've never had a more unpleasant. He was so mad at me when the segment was over. He glared at me and gave me the dirtiest. It was just joy for me. It was just ecstasy, because a lot of these guys, part of the problem, man, is they never get called out. They spout all this stuff,
right,
but nobody ever challenges them. I'll never forget Pierce Morgan calling Michael Moore out on being part of the one percenters, and he went, "No, I'm not." And of course you are. You're not making $29,000 a year. But Michael Moore literally tried to convince Pierce Morgan and his CNN audience that he's not a member of the 1%. When these guys get called out, it's hysterical. You ought to hear that.
That's too funny, and particularly when I'm sure you saw that where Michael Moore is getting divorced from his wife or whatever, and so obviously the assets all got sort of listed.
Right.
And the asset, I think he has 7 properties, including 3 apartments, which he knocked in together in New York. Very nice, if you can afford it.
Right.
And then the holiday home in Michigan, which would safely and comfortably sleep about 40 people.
Right.
And then he doesn't think he's part of the 1%. He's an odious man, an odious, awful, awful man. And of course, that people who work for him on these documentaries, these anti-capitalist documentaries, half the time he doesn't, he either pays them sort of some kind of minimum wage or manages some kind of internship thing. I mean, unbelievable.
That's right.
He's an unbelievable.
We could spend hours talking about the hypocrisy of people like Ed Begley Jr. and Michael Moore. It's a delight to catch up with you. Please give Phelim our best.